Every morning, as the sun rose over his quiet farm, Elijah noticed his horse, Blue, standing knee-deep in the pond. Initially, he thought it was just Blue's way of cooling off, but as days turned into weeks, Elijah grew concerned. Why was his horse drawn to the water every single day? He decided to call the local vet, suspecting Blue might be ill. But when the vet arrived and saw what was happening in the pond, his face turned ashen with surprise. When it was still hot as hell outside, Farmer Elijah could fully understand his horse using the water in the pond to cool down. But he got worried when the horse kept doing this even as the temperatures quickly dropped. And when he found that the animal had broken the ice covering the water this morning just to get in the pond, he knew that something had to be wrong here. Elijah called his regular veterinarian for assistance. He tried to explain the strange behavior of his horse to him, and the man could not help but be a bit surprised as well. But the vet had a very busy day, and the next couple of days planned, so he could not go all the way to Elijah anytime soon. But Elijah did not want to wait. The only other option the vet could think of was to transfer Elijah to another vet in the area. One that the farmer had never dealt with before, but his regular was fairly confident in the abilities of the man. He had been a farm vet for ever longer than he had and had a good reputation among his peers. Nothing about this could have made Elijah suspicious of the man. He got in contact with the other vet and explained his strange case once again. The vet seemed a bit less impressed by the story than his normal vet, but at least this man had the time to come out to Elijah tomorrow morning. The interactions with the vet were a bit strange in Elijah's eyes, but for now, he managed to push those worries to the side in his mind. But the fact that they only managed to schedule the appointment for the next morning meant that the horse still had plenty of time to get himself into the pond of ice-cold water. And Elijah was dead set on preventing that from now on. With a lot of effort, he managed to get the animal back to the barn. But just locking it inside did not feel like harsh enough measures. With still a lot of time to kill before the vet would arrive that next morning, Elijah decided to do some research of his own. He went back to the small pond to try and figure out what could be so special about the place. What motivated his horse to keep returning and getting in the water day after day, no matter the temperature? When he arrived at the pond, there were still shards of thin ice floating on the water. But seeing as the temperature had risen a bit, they were starting to melt more and more. From up here, Elijah could not see anything he would consider to be out of the ordinary or suspicious. It just looked like a normal pond of which there were many on his and his neighbor's land. He knew that if he wanted to potentially learn more, he would have to go into the water himself and maybe feel around. Or maybe he needed to have the water tested to see if there were any strange components present in it that affected the behavior of his horse. The more he thought about it, the stranger he considered the situation to be. Elijah, with a sense of urgency, ventured towards his neighbors, sharing the peculiar situation of his horse, Blue. The neighbors, too, had witnessed similar oddities. Their horses, like Blue, were inexplicably drawn to various ponds, regardless of the chilling temperatures. They hadn't considered consulting a veterinarian, thus Elijah's experience piqued their interest. That night, Elijah lay awake, troubled by the day's revelations. Outside, the sound of Blue's desperate attempts to break free and return to the pond echoed hauntingly. As the first light of dawn broke, Elijah, weary from a sleepless night, found Blue visibly exhausted and agitated. The vet arrived, taking in the scene of the tired and irritable horse. Attempting to examine Blue proved challenging, as the horse's agitation made it difficult to approach. Elijah, with a mix of hope and anxiety, watched the vet struggle to assess Blue, his mind filled with questions about what the day would reveal. Together with the vet, Elijah visited neighboring farms, observing horses with behaviors similar to Blue's. The vet conducted thorough examinations but found no apparent health issues or behavioral anomalies, other than their unexplained attraction to the water. Back at his farm, Elijah insisted that the pond water be tested. The vet, initially skeptical, agreed to take a sample for analysis. He reassured Elijah that he would be in touch with the results. As the vet departed, Elijah stood by the pond, enveloped in a cloud of anxiety and puzzlement, staring into the enigmatic waters. The weather showed a slight improvement, emboldening Elijah to release Blue from the barn. Instantly, the horse made a beeline for the pond. Elijah watched helplessly as Blue waded into the water, torn between concern and curiosity about what lay beneath the surface that so captivated his horse. The vet's arrival the next morning brought no immediate relief. As he tried to examine Blue, the horse's exhaustion and irritability complicated matters. The vet's inability to provide answers only heightened Elijah's sense of helplessness. He was caught in a cycle of worry for Blue and curiosity about the unknown force driving his horse towards the pond. Elijah, driven by a mix of worry and curiosity, insisted on a more thorough investigation of the water. He urged the vet to test the pond water for any unusual substances or properties. A sample was collected for laboratory analysis in hopes of shedding light on this strange occurrence. With the water sample sent for analysis, Elijah and the vet parted ways. The wait for the results was agonizing for Elijah. As days passed, Blue's behavior grew more intense. Elijah noticed his horse's increasing fixation with the pond. Despite being released, Blue seemed only content when near or in the water, further deepening Elijah's concern and curiosity about what lay beneath the surface. Compelled by an overwhelming blend of curiosity and concern, Elijah decided to take a bold step. He resolved to personally experience the pond's mysterious allure. With a deep breath, he prepared himself for what he might discover, knowing that this decision could be the key to unraveling the mystery. Elijah cautiously stepped into the cold waters of the pond. Almost immediately, he felt something unexpected, a sensation of numerous tiny bites. Startled, Elijah realized he had stumbled upon a significant discovery. Recoiling from the biting sensation, Elijah quickly exited the pond. His heart raced as he observed countless tiny fish surfacing in the water. He managed to catch one, examining it closely. The fish was small and seemingly harmless, yet it held the key to the mystery that had plagued Elijah and his neighbors for weeks. Elijah's curiosity propelled him to research these tiny fish. He discovered they were a species known for feeding on dead skin cells, an invasive species likely introduced to the area by migratory birds. This revelation explained the horse's attraction to the ponds. The fish were providing a sensation that the horses found irresistible. Elijah wasted no time in sharing his discovery with his neighbors. The news brought a collective sense of relief and closure. The mystery of the horse's strange behavior was finally solved. The community could now understand the peculiar allure of the ponds and take steps to manage the situation. The understanding of what was happening in the ponds brought a sense of peace to the farmers. The horses were not in danger. They were simply enjoying the sensation provided by the fish. This knowledge alleviated the concerns and fears that had been brewing among the community. The discovery of the invasive fish species turned the situation from a baffling mystery into a fascinating example of a natural phenomenon. The community's perspective shifted from worry to fascination as they learned more about the ecological dynamics of their farms. Elijah felt a deep sense of satisfaction in having unraveled the mystery, bringing both understanding and relief to his community. With the revelation about the fish, Elijah and his neighbors began to view the ponds differently. They were no longer places of mystery and concern, but fascinating ecosystems. The farmers started to observe the interactions between their horses and the ponds with newfound interest and appreciation. Elijah took it upon himself to learn more about the invasive fish species. He contacted local wildlife experts and ecologists, seeking information on how these fish could impact the local ecosystem. The community, inspired by Elijah's efforts, began working together to monitor the ponds and the fish populations. They organized meetings to discuss the ecological implications and potential actions to manage the invasive species while ensuring the well-being of their livestock and local wildlife. The discovery of the fish and its effects on the horses taught the community a valuable lesson about coexistence with nature. They learned to embrace the unexpected and find harmony in the natural world. Elijah's farm, once a place of concern, had become a testament to the beauty and complexity of nature's surprises. The bond between the horses and the ponds, once a source of concern, had become a symbol of the surprising and beneficial relationships that can exist in nature. Elijah's journey from worry to wonderment showcased the beauty of discovery and the importance of understanding and respecting the natural world. In the chilly waters, surrounded by the tiny fish, Elijah experienced a moment of clarity. His initial fear and confusion transformed into understanding and appreciation. The fish, while invasive, had created a unique ecological niche that benefited the horses in an unexpected way. The community, led by Elijah, sought advice from environmental experts on managing the invasive fish species. They learned about sustainable practices to control the fish population without harming the ecosystem. Elijah's farm became a focal point for environmental education and awareness. The discovery of the fish and their role in the ecosystem encouraged the community to be more observant and appreciative of their natural environment. They began to recognize the importance of every creature in their ecosystem, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant. Elijah's experience transformed his perspective on nature and his role as a steward of the land. He developed a deeper connection with his environment, understanding the delicate balance that must be maintained for a healthy ecosystem. The journey from mystery to understanding brought a new sense of harmony between the community and their natural surroundings. Elijah and his neighbors embraced their role as caretakers of the land, fostering a relationship with nature that was based on respect, understanding, and coexistence.